Welcome to the refinance page. Should I refinance? That is also a very common question that a lot of people ask. Should I refinance my home? And really, it depends. And we're going to go through some of these things. And in fact, I think my website does a really good job of this. So let's go. I'm going to share my screen and let's go right into it here. Okay. So there are three main times when you're going to refinance. Okay. Number one is if values go up. Okay. Number two is if your debts go up. And number three is if interest rates fall. Okay. So we're going to talk about each of those here. Okay. So let's talk about if values go up. Okay. So what I mean by that is let's say you bought your home for 300,000, and after a period of a few years, it's now worth 350 or something like that. Okay. That means you let's say you did zero down. So let's say in that scenario, 300,000 to 350, that $50,000 is your equity in the home. Okay. And really, if you don't refinance or do anything, it's there, but you're not really being able to take advantage of it. So the reason somebody would refinance if values go up is two reasons. Number one is, let's say you bought your home and you have mortgage insurance on it because you put less than 20% down. If you put less than 20% down, but now values are up high enough that you have 20% equity, you could refinance to then get rid of that mortgage insurance, which potentially could save you several $100s a month. Okay. So that would be one reason you would refinance if values go up. And a second reason is if you wanted to pull out cash. Okay. So let's say values go up and your home is now worth quite a bit more, and you have, some debts, or you have a basement you want to finish, or you just, whatever, you want to go to Vegas. You can do that. You can refinance to pull out cash. Okay. And again, your home is a great place to pull out cash from because it's the lowest interest rate you'll ever get. Okay. There's nothing else out there that can compete with home rates typically. It's just very cheap money. Okay. So that's why you would refinance if values go up. Okay. So let's go to the second thing. If your debts go up, okay. If your debts go up, it may be a smart idea to refinance. Okay. And obviously in this scenario, hopefully your home has also gone up in value too, because if your home is the same as what you bought it at, obviously it's going to be hard to pull out some cash there, okay, to pay off debts. But what I'm trying to show you is that, again, your home may be a good place to kind of consolidate all your debts. I help lots of people where they have so many different debts, okay, credit cards, car loans, student loans, different things like that. And they're always focused on, hey, I want to get that mortgage payment as low as I can. And oftentimes we'll talk about it and we'll say, well, okay, I know you want your mortgage payment low, but if we refinanced and pulled out, $50,000, in this scenario, I'm actually using $55,000, right? If I just go along with, I guess, what I'm showing here, let's say I pull out $55,000, that saves $1,348 a month in this, even though, yes, your mortgage payment goes up a little bit, but overall quite a lot less than if you were to just keep those debts. Okay. And in fact, I show it right here. So you would save about $1,206 a month. Okay. So, yes, your mortgage payment went up, but $1,348 you're saved. So really you're only, you're saving quite a bit of money there. Okay. That $1,206 a month, that means your mortgage payment went up by, $150 or so. Okay. Because your difference is still $1,206 a month. So a lot of savings there by refinancing to pay off debts. Okay. Now, some people will say, hey, and I mentioned this here, well, I don't want to take my 5-year car loan and put it into a 30-year mortgage loan. And I totally get that. What I would say to that is, if you were to take that $1,206 a month, okay, and let's say that savings that you did in this scenario, you take that $1,206 and you apply it to your mortgage. Okay, so instead of just saving that money and keeping it, you're going to apply that $1,206 a month that you were paying on these other things. Now you're going to pay it on your mortgage. If you did that, you would pay off your mortgage, in 13 years, 11 months, which is way sooner than a normal 30-year fixed mortgage would be, right? And that's because you're paying extra onto that loan that has a much lower interest rate than typically your credit cards and car loans and stuff like that. Okay, so what I would say is talk to me, because we can run this on your own scenario to kind of figure out what makes sense. But But let's talk about your overall debt picture, so you know where everything stands, and if it makes sense to refinance, to pull out cash, to maybe consolidate some of those debts, those higher interest rate debts that you're paying, that you can get rid of quicker by throwing them into your mortgage and paying less interest on it overall. Okay, would love to have that conversation with you. It's one of my favorite things is helping people with this, because they always feel so free, right? Hey, everybody hates debt. Let's get rid of debt. And I know ultimately you still have the debt, right? Because it's now just under your house, but it is a freeing ability, because now it's all under a really low interest rate. You don't have that other debt. The only asterisk I ever put on any of this is just make sure that you don't go get a bunch of new debt now that you're free. Sometimes people feel comfortable with a certain level of debt, and when it's all gone, they go get more debt. So be careful with that. That's my only asterisk next to that. Let's go down now to if interest rates fall. This is probably the most common reason people think about refinancing is, hey, interest rates are lower. Let's refinance, right? I have a 5% rate. Rates are now at a 4%. Let's refinance. Okay. And obviously that is a good time to refinance. It may make sense to do it. I have this kind of cool graphic, just shows you interest rates over the years. Certainly they have changed and continued to go down, which is great, right? The cost of borrowing for a house has gone down quite a bit over the years. So people always wonder, hey, when should I refinance? If rates just fall a quarter, 0.5%, or what about a full percent? What's the magic number? When should I refinance? And ultimately, what I would say is it all depends on how long you're going to be in that home for. Okay, so you can see this example I give right here. Saying, hey, let's assume we bought a home for $400,000 at 4%. And rates drop to 3.5%. Okay, that would save us $91 a month. Okay, but let's say it costs us $5,000 to refinance. Okay, so in that scenario, it means it would take you about 54 months or 4.5 years to recoup that cost to refinance. Okay, so in that scenario, 4.5 years, if you know you're going to be in that house longer than 4.5 years, then I would say, yeah, it makes sense to refinance. Okay, if you think, hey, I'm going to move in a year, or maybe I think rates are going to continue to drop in 2 years, so I'll just do, I'll hold off, or I'll do a higher rate right now. That's fine. It's all about that break-even point. How long are you going to keep that mortgage for? Okay, if you're going to keep it for longer than the break-even point, go ahead and refinance. Or talk to me about other options, right? Perhaps, in this scenario, you're at a 4% rate, and 3.5 is the rate for 5,000 in closing costs. Sometimes it's possible at 3.75, I can do very low cost, maybe only 1,000 or 2. Okay, so then your break-even point, even though you're not saving as much monthly, the cost to get that loan is so much cheaper that it may make sense. Okay, and again, we can have these conversations trying to figure out if it makes sense to refinance or not. Okay, so at the end of the day, there's a lot of variables to refinancing, and ultimately talk to me if you have questions, because we can look at your scenario. If it makes sense to refinance, then we can do it. If it doesn't, we don't. My goal is to be your guy, advisor for life, right? I'm not in this for a quick buck. I want to help you. Okay. I put these rates right here so you can kind of just see generally, where rates are at, right? Because if your rate is higher, then it may make sense to refinance down. Okay. And you can kind of see these rates based on today's stuff. Okay. If you are ready to refinance, or if you want to go forward, obviously reach out to us. You can also fill out this handy form, make it a little easier if you just want to do that. But ultimately, again, should you refinance? That's a great question. And hopefully this video has kind of helped you along with this webpage to determine if that makes sense for you to do or not. Okay. Now that you've discovered that, what's next, right? Should I do one of these other things? That's up to you. Go and explore, have some fun. Thank you.